Another week, another race. Let's get into it. It's the Styrian Grand Prix. Welcome back to Peter on Pole. My name's Peter, back in pole position. Here to talk about the Styrian Grand Prix this weekend. A nice little preview to get you excited and in the mood. The Styrian Grand Prix. It's the same track. It's the same place. It's the same country. Just a different name. That's what it is. So it's the Red Bull Ring. In Spielberg. Yep, all the same. We are back here for another week, and you know what? That is not a problem with me. If we get anything like we got last week in the Austrian Grand Prix, I'm taking it. We'll start off at the back, work our way down from last week. You got the Williams team, George Russell, who started off really well, got up as high as 12th place in the race. Unfortunately, had to retire. The car wasn't up to scratch. And Nicholas Latifi finished 11th, which is great. Bear in mind, of course, there were only 11 cars left on the track that weekend. So, will we get more cars failing, or will we have a bit more stability this weekend? I don't know. And apparently the weather is going to be as good as England is, which means it's going to be shocking, which means the sun will come out, but it will rain, which means you will leave your house in a t-shirt, but you will need a hoodie, which means you'll leave your house with a jacket when you need a t-shirt. Anything can happen, just like the British weather. The Styrian Grand Prix will be full of surprises, I can guarantee you that. So, what do we expect from the Williams? Look, they got into Q2, remember, last week in the Austrian qualifying round. So, hopefully, we could see a bit more of the Williams, more down the midfield of the pack. That would be brilliant. If we can get both Williams into Q2, that would be brilliant. But I think all eyes will probably be on George Russell. Latifi still trying to, just getting his boots in, just getting his feet under the table. And he just needs to keep that car steady. No more crashes, no more accidents from Latifi. Slow and steady. Not slow, but steady. And he should be okay. Haas. Woo. The team with no gas. Yeah. Haas. I mean, I don't know what to make. I don't know what to make of them. Do you know what, though? With all the Ferrari powered engines, so you've got Haas, you've got Alfa Romeo and Ferrari. They've had a shocker. At the start of the season. So whether it's the engine as well, that's not even helping them. Man, Haas need a bit of help. You've got Romain Grosjean and you've got Kevin Magnussen. I don't know whether or not they're going to improve. I don't see it. It doesn't look that great. They were quicker than they are last year, but still near the end of the pack. So we'll see it. Like I said in the preview to the Haas preview that I made earlier, ahead of the season, they've got to make this count. Otherwise, Gene Haas, as much as he says he's committed to F1, it would not surprise me if we don't see Haas next year because of how much money it takes and costs to build a Formula One car and get it to perform. Like, it's not cheap money. Alfa Romeo, you got Kimi Raikkonen and Antonio Giovinazzi. Not as impressive, but remember that mechanic, I'm onto you. I don't know your name yet. I've been searching for you. I'm onto you. And I don't want to see any more issues of that nature again in the pit stop. I mean, put him on a wheel properly. Just put it on properly. That's all I'm asking. And I heard that Alfa Romeo got fined 5,000 for that. You're damn right they got fined 5,000. Because luckily there's no one in the stands. Because if that tyre hits somebody, I mean, there's a case. There's a big case on their hands. But they're lucky. 5 grand is all they're going to get. A little pinch from them. Fair enough. Fair dues. We move on. Antonio, let's see what he can get up to. I want to see a bit more of him. I didn't really pay much attention to him last week. Didn't really give me anything to talk about. So let's see. Can he do better than Kimi again? Because I think he did do better last week before Kimi came off. So we'll see. We'll see how he does. I'll keep my eye on Antonio Giovinazzi. AlphaTauri, not a bad start to this Formula One season. Remember the new look, the new car. You got the white and the navy. Remember, it's the clothing line of Red Bull. That'll probably be the last time I'll mention that. Probably not. But they had a good start. They didn't do too bad. In fact, they got ahead of Sebastian Ocon. I keep calling him Sebastian. He's Esteban Ocon. Why do I call him Sebastian? I don't know what's wrong with myself. He got ahead of, Pierre Gasly got ahead of Esteban Ocon. And which isn't a bad start. Like I said in the preview, I think they're going to work towards getting involved in that midfield a bit more, rather than being on the back end of it. They're going to be more muddled in the midfield. Let's see what they get up to in qualifying. I'm not too sure. They're not a fast car. Although it's Renault powered, Honda powered rather. It is Honda powered, and you know it's proved to do well last year. So let's see what we can get out of them this year. Pierre Gasly, Daniel Kvyat, we'll see what we can get from them. Again, early signs, still a bit early. Nothing. They didn't do anything necessarily to impress me, other than the fact that they got ahead of Renault last weekend. Renault. Well, we've heard the breaking news on Renault already, that Fernando Alonso will be taking over Danny Ricciardo's seat next season, 2021. But this season, Danny Ricciardo, Esteban Ocon, I nearly said Sebastian again. What is wrong with me? Look, Danny Ricciardo unfortunately retired last week, so we didn't really get to see how good he was. He did make it to Q3, got the Renault in Q3, which is good. Esteban Ocon, we've already welcomed him back, and didn't really impress as much, didn't really do anything in particular, but you know, he got his car into the points, which is good for Renault. They got some points on the board, even when there was only one car remaining on the track for that team. But again, you know, same track. I wonder whether or not, you know, we just hope this is the case for most of the teams. Will the reliability issues creep up again? Will they come back, or have they sorted that out? Are they going to be doing different strategies? Are they going to be looking at ways to avoid the curbs? Because the curbs is absolutely battering these cars. And from when you don't really hear much on TV, but when you could hear the car going over the curb, you could actually hear the sound of like the brrr effect, whatever that noise was. Then you know that car is proper bouncing. It is shaking in there. So look, let's see how these teams handle it. Renault, I'm hoping they are a bit quicker. I'm hoping there is some pace. I do want to see them do well. I like the car. I like everything about Renault. Everything about Renault? That's a bit strong. But I like Renault. Let's put it that way. So yeah, Renault. Racing Point. Look, they impressed throughout the winter season, throughout testing. And then we came to qualifying. They were good. They were quick. Practice. They were good. They were quick. Then in the race, something happened. I'm not entirely sure what that was. Lance Stroll had technical issues with his car, so he had to come off. And his car retired. So even a Racing Point, we didn't really get to see what its true value is. You know, we didn't get to see its true value. So you had Lance Stroll coming off the circuit, unfortunately, with reliability issues as well. So, you know, a lot of these people did. Sergio Perez unfortunately got caught in a few penalties, and there was a moment in the race in Austria where the safety car comes out and he doesn't pit when everybody else does, and I think, you know, it was one of those, it kind of cost him afterwards, because the pace just wasn't there when the safety car went back in the pits and everybody was able to drive out. The pace just wasn't there for Sergio Perez. In hindsight, you'd say, yeah, maybe he should have gone in, but I'm sure Racing Point had a strategy and thought, look, this is the way to go. Let's not just copy what everyone else is doing. We've got a good tyre. I think they were on the medium tyre at the time, so it was a longevity tyre anyway. But just as time went on, the grip kept going, the car got slower, and then the penalties didn't help. So unfortunate for Sergio Perez. But I'm optimistic again about them, because it's the same track where they were fast in practice, where they were fast in qualifying. So it's the same place. I think they'll tweak a few things on that car. And yeah, just watch out. McLaren, you got to be very careful, because yeah, Racing Point are still here. They've not gone anywhere yet. And don't forget, Perez finished ahead. If I remember correctly, yeah, Perez finished ahead of Vettel, and even in qualifying they did. I think both cars finished ahead of Vettel. So not bad at all. McLaren, my team McLaren. Look, it was unbelievable last week. Podium for Lando Norris. Carlos Sainz didn't have the best of days, but still got that car well into the top 6, I think he finished, and you know, got the car some good points. McLaren had a good weekend overall, because I think they did better than what they expected. Remember, leading up to the Austrian Grand Prix, they weren't sure that they're going to have the pace. They weren't entirely sure if they were going to challenge for the front end of the midfield, where you had Racing Point, who seemed to be the hot favourite, and then Renault also have improving as well in their car. So McLaren were delighted and over the moon. I don't know if you saw Zach Brown after the race, the CEO of McLaren, Zach Brown, after the race, he was just delighted. I mean, he had the biggest smile on his face, and he's somebody who kind of, he's not Ron Dennis, but he keeps it very conservative still. He doesn't want to like overstate or you know, exaggerate something that isn't really there. But the smile on his face and the way he jumped and clapped, because they nicked third place right at the death because of Lewis Hamilton, who had a mare last week. you know, that shows that, okay, do you know what? Like, they did so much better than they expected. So I'm so excited. I'm so happy that McLaren finished in the podium places 2 races in a row now, if you include last year. However, I do think that papered over some cracks. I do think that there was a lot of things that circumstantially helped them. Now, if they get another situation like that again, brilliant. No one's complaining. Remember, there's only 8 races. So even if, you know, if you get half of those in your way, in your favor, then you're going to finish pretty well. But I do think that the Lando Norris pace as well, not even the pace, it's the car I'm a bit concerned about. Something's not quite right with the car. The pace, I think, is there. The Renault engine is doing wonders for McLaren. But I think there's just some issues aerodynamically. I think there's something wrong in the setup, because it doesn't seem like they've gone back a bit, but I just don't feel like they're at the same point they were last year. Where last year it seemed to be on a trajectory. They were going up, but I don't know whether that's going to be the case this year. Racing Point coming as well doesn't make it look that appealing either. So we'll see. I don't know. I genuinely don't know what's going to happen with McLaren. I'm hoping they are in the front end, but realistically, I think it's going to be a fight between Renault, Racing Point and McLaren. Those 3 are going to swing it out for the top 4. Oh, Ferrari. I mean, look, do you know what? It's so funny, this story, because Ferrari led into this season like doom and gloom. Uh-oh, we're in trouble, to the extent where they were like, look, we're just going to tell you now, upgrades are coming in Hungary. Forget now. And now I'm hearing that they're pushing the upgrade to the Styrian Grand Prix this weekend. So it's almost like, I think they realized they were off the pace, but then when it came to qualifying, when it came to the race, you thought, oh, wow, they genuinely thought, okay, we are in big trouble and we need to sort this situation out now. So they've moved the upgrades. Well, they're trying to move the upgrades to this weekend. And in fairness, look, Charles Leclerc, I don't know how to pronounce that guy. Is it Leclerc? Like an Leclerc. Charles Leclerc, he finished 2nd last week and had no business or no right finishing there. That showed me something a bit different about Charles, because do you know what? Charles is a young driver, quick, right? Those are the 2 things I think. When I think of him, I think fast, young, great, no problem. But I learned something else more about this driver last weekend, and that is he understands the car he's in, if that makes sense. There's something that he's learning, and this is what separates the potentials from becoming world champions. And Leclerc, for me, is definitely going to be a world champion without a shadow of a doubt, because he's got the right character. He's very mature. He's very, very mature, and he dealt with the car that he had. He dealt with it rather than just complaining about the car. He's more than a driver, if that makes sense. He's somebody who seems to technically know what's going on and figure out the best ways in which to handle this car, and not just moan and complain about it. Well, the car was rubbish, and so what are you going to do? There's only so much I can do. Whereas there are certain drivers that are just a bit different. Your Fernando Alonso, he's very good at doing this, where a car is awful, but he drags it somewhere. And Charles last week, I have to give him his props. I have to give him credit as to how we got that Ferrari 2nd. And that's the other thing. With McLaren's pace, I would say, McLaren need to look at that and think, okay, well, if Ferrari are so bad, why weren't we close enough to them? You know, why weren't we there with them? Sebastian Vettel had a mare. I already talked about it. He was the Western Super last week. Absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt. Well, one of the Western Supers. Anyway, let me not talk about that Grand Prix, because it'll get me annoyed when I start talking about the nightmares. It'll get me annoyed. But anyway, Sebastian Vettel didn't have the greatest day of his life. And I don't know whether he's just like, do you know what? Screw this. You know, like if you're leaving a job and like you've got your final date on a certain date, do you just naturally sort of take your foot off the pace? Do you just naturally take your foot off the gas? And now with Renault recruiting Alonso to, you know, for next season, where's Vettel going? Like, the big picture here is that Vettel doesn't have a seat next year. And that's nuts. Sebastian Vettel, 4-time world champion, has not got a racing seat next year, as far as we know. So I don't know whether he's just in that phase of like, because obviously I'm sure he knew that Renault were recruiting Alonso before we all found out. So maybe there's something in there. I don't know. His mood, his demeanor, he's not being politically correct for nobody. He is not wearing the badge, the prancing horse on his chest at all. He's saying it out as it is. He's being honest. He's just like, look, they didn't offer me a contract. I'm surprised by it. They didn't even tell me nothing. He's not hiding. Do you know what I mean? So I wonder whether there is something more to Sebastian that I need to pay attention to, because something's not right. And I'm getting worried now. I'm now getting worried. But look, this weekend, I would like to see the progression. I want to see if there is any progression with Ferrari this weekend. There may not be, but if there is, then, Red Bull, mate, pull your socks up. That's what we're talking about next. Red Bull. What a weekend to forget last week. No cars finished. They had an absolute mare as a team. Nothing to do with the drivers. It's just literally the car wasn't reliable. To lose power on both of those cars, and that car seemed very quick. It looks definitely faster than the Ferraris. They look like they've overtaken and gone second now, and closest thing to challenging Mercedes. But then you take them two out. Albon going out because of Hamilton, and of course Max losing power on his car. But the good thing for them is that they're back at the Red Bull ring. They're back there where the car performs well. Remember, the last 2 out of 3 years, it's been a Red Bull winner, both of those being Max Verstappen. So I don't think we should sleep on those guys at all, because I think that that car is going to come once again, go near the front part of the grid. Hopefully the car is reliable, because if it is, and the thing is, I was excited ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix because they came with a different strategy, like quite purposefully. They were starting on the medium tire, where everybody else was starting on the soft, faster tire that has less lifetime. But the medium tires are much more of a slow burner, but it lasts longer. So I was excited to see. Now let's see. Red Bull. They're very clever. So I wanted to see how that thing was going to engineer. Unfortunately, we didn't get to see that. Will they go with that same strategy again? I don't know. I hope so, because I want to see what the plan was, what they were trying to execute. Because unfortunately, they didn't get to really pull it off last week, and yet they still could have had Albon on the podium. But obviously Lewis had a mare, so spun Albon out, and plus the car packed up anyway, so he probably wouldn't have finished third anyway, or even second. I mean, Albon was talking. He said, "Look, it's not only that I lost out on third, or lost out on the podium. I lost out on a potential race win." That's how they were looking at it, because remember, the Mercedes cars were just struggling towards the end. And, team radio after team radio, guys, stay off the curbs, telling Bottas and Hamilton, stay off the curbs. Like clowns, they weren't listening. Carried on rinsing out the curb. And literally by, I think, pure luck, that they managed to finish that race. Or maybe Mercedes were just lying to us. I don't know. Red Bull, I'm looking forward to seeing you lot back out again. Qualifying, I think it'll be quick. I think they'll put the 2 Red Bulls will be in the top 4 comfortably. I say comfortably, top 5. Let me not go that far. Top 5, they'll be in there. They should be in the top 4. Top 3 is what they should aim for, to be fair. Split the Mercedes up. Let's see what they can do there. But Hamilton's bloody quick, and Bottas is impressive at the moment. Mercedes, great weekend for them last week, considering the circumstances. They got the most points in the constructors last week. Obviously, Bottas, the winner of the race, which I was saying I think he was going to win last week. I don't know if I can go that far and say he's going to win this week after watching the race in full. And again, back at this circuit, it doesn't necessarily favour Mercedes that well. I'm going to stick my neck out and put Verstappen ahead of the Mercedes. Oh, that's just mad. That's a madness. But anyway, we'll see. Mercedes, look, they'll. I don't know if they'll do the same thing again. I think qualifying, though, I think they'll just have to be flat out fast in qualifying, get the 1-2 like they did last week. And I guess preferably they want Hamilton ahead of Bottas, just because Hamilton can seem to, build a lead over time. Whereas Bottas, who starts strong, then has to try and hold on at the end. So we'll see. I don't know how that will go. We'll see how that goes. Remember, Bottas broke the record for the fastest lap ever at the Red Bull ring. So it's not to say he's slow either. Hamilton needs a better weekend. He had a mare in qualifying, and he's had a mare in the race. He had 2 penalties that's cost him the weekend. And really and truly, I think it cost him the race, because I think it cost him all the maximum points, because if he doesn't have any issues, if he has no grid place penalty, if he just lifts under the yellow flag, he would have been at the front row of the grid, right? He would have been at the front row of the grid. In the race then, it's him and Bottas. If there's no 5-second penalty for taking out Albon, I think he's chasing down Bottas, as he was doing, and I think he would have overtaken him and won the race. So really, when you look at it in hindsight, I think he flopped himself the entire race there. So that's on you, Lewis. Let's see if he can improve and come back next week. I think he will. And who am I kidding? I'm going for pole sitter Lewis Hamilton and race winner Lewis Hamilton. I think Mercedes are going to notch up twice, just like what Bottas did last week. He did pole and finish. So yeah, I'm going that with Lewis this weekend at the Styrian Grand Prix. My top three will be, I'm going to go in third place. I'm going to stick Charles Leclerc in there. Charles Leclerc will go third for me. In second place, I'm going to put Max Verstappen in there. And in first, I'm going to go Lewis Hamilton. I know it leaves Bottas in a bad place. And Sebastian Vettel, I can't even see him right now. You know what? In fairness to Albon, I think he's done bloody well. I don't think Gasly would have got that car potentially in third place last week. Albon he's pretty steady on that car. You know, he looks like he's made it his own. So I want to see how Albon does. I want to see how he does, because he looks like he's good on the race than he is more so in qualifying. So I want to see how he does over this weekend. But yeah, the Styrian Grand Prix is this weekend. Same time as the Austrian Grand Prix. Same race, same country, same circuit. Let me know in the comments below who your top three are. First out as well. I mean, my first out is going to be... Who's my first out? Should I go Romain Grosjean? I could go Romain Grosjean. It will be Haas, won't it? It will just be them. Between them and Latifi. I don't know who yet, but we'll look forward to it. Watch out for the qualifying review. As soon as qualifying is done, I'll be recording another episode. Oh, of course, the race review as well will be following the race, of course. But thank you guys for locking in today. Make sure you share, like, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your comments. Who's your top three? Who's your first out? And with that said, lights out.